Hello everybody, it's Towelz. How's everyone doing? I'm bringing you another video at the moment. It's going to be a sort of guide. It's going to be for the people who are having trouble on their Barbarian in Hell and Nightmare difficulties. I'm not going to be going into Inferno because that requires a whole different mindset and to be honest it's not that fun. But I'm sure there are people out there that are having trouble with Nightmare and Hell. Nothing wrong with that, it's still quite difficult. And I completely do die sometimes now on Hell. Did I say Hell? I meant Hell. Yeah, some of the mob combinations are really hard to beat, and you just have to go at them a few times before you can beat them. Anyway, a lot of people are playing their barbarians as full tanks once they get to this difficulty, and when I chose my barbarian I didn't feel like that's what I was going to be doing. So I'm trying to find a way that I can play my barbarian without being a full tank, because a full tank is completely viable. But if you look at my damage on my character screen, it's now, how much is it? 6.4k at level 53. Okay, I'm having some trouble here. Not helping prove my point. I'm trying a different build. I'm at the moment with Revenge. It's very good against lots of small mobs, but it's not that fantastic against lots of these kind of things. So if I do die here, I'm going to switch my build. And what I'm trying to get across here, is that you should be changing your build at this difficulty. You should be changing your build to fit what mobs you're against. Now I'm going to go with Warcry with Invigorate Rune because I'm going to do some kiting, and Revenge will provide me with a huge amount of healing if I'm in the thick of things against a lot of small mobs, but while I'm kiting it won't give me back that much at all. I did have my Earthquake off cooldown and I could have blown that, and if it goes hairy again that's what I'm going to do. I'll just kill these and then I'll stop and start talking about abilities. It's not going to be like one magic build, because at this difficulty there isn't a magic build. It's the knockbacks that are just everything annoying. Okay, yeah, that's the point I'm trying to get across. If you're having troubles with Inferno and... okay, that's a big one. If you're having trouble, not with Inferno, so I'm not talking about Inferno, Nightmare and Hell, and you're having troubles, then you're probably sticking with one build religiously, and it needs to change depending on your mobs. This is a very easy boss. Anyway. Okay, let's talk about this. It's such a lovely day at the moment. Why am I inside? Okay, we've got Frenzy on my left click. What rune have I got? I've got the Vanguard rune. I think very many of these, I think for PvE, the runes you want to be looking at are Sidearm, Vanguard and Maniac. And I think Frenzy is a great skill to have. For mob clearing it is very useful, because during a mob fight it's very hard. These two abilities, Frenzy and Cleave, when you're clearing through a dungeon are going to be used so often, you don't want to be limited to choosing just one. If you just have Frenzy, then a small group of, say, the spiders in Act 2, Act 1, like Act 2? I can't remember. The spiders, they will surround you and kill you and you'll be able to do nothing with Frenzy. With Cleave, you can one click of Cleave and they will all disappear. Whereas if you go against a boss mob, like the one I just went against, Frenzy allowed me to do 75% additional damage, which is a huge amount. I run this kind of setup every time. I think for this difficulty, Ignore Pain is completely mandatory. I use Ignorance as Bliss rune. And I just remember I hadn't used that at all in the last two fights I've been doing. I have just woken up. On my W I use Battle Rage with Marauder's Rage, and for those of you that don't know, it increases your damage by 30%, and that's really quite a reasonable amount. For my Q, I either use, as you've seen here, Warcry with Invigorate, and what that does is a long lasting heal every second, which is powerful when you need to be kiting things. And then when I don't want to be using that, when I'm against like lots of small mobs, I quite often run Revenge with Suffocation rune, and in my opinion, Revenge is not that viable until you get this rune. If you don't know, it doubles the chance that Revenge will proc, which is really quite useful. I think I'm going to stick with the Warcry for the moment. I'm going to be doing the Butcher for you at one point in Hell difficulty. For my R, for mob clearing, I like to keep Earthquake, and I use the Mountain's Cool rune. I think Earthquake's a really powerful spell. If you don't have your advanced tooltips on, I do now. It deals 2000% weapon damage as fire over 8 seconds, and it's so helpful when you're fighting these boss mobs that you can't stay in the thick of things, but you can place this down, and it does a huge amount of damage. For passive skills, like I said, I'm going Glass Cannon with an axe. Let's just look at my character screen. I've been going plus crit damage. I now have plus 200% crit damage, which is quite reasonable. I run Ruthless, Weapon Master, and Berserker Rage, and this at the moment is just to give me huge amounts of damage and crits. If you see me attacking for 4k normal with my Frenzy, it will often end up critting for 12k, which means I'm doing really quite a lot of damage, single target. Now this, like I said, changes quite often depending on what you're doing. You have to think outside the box. And another big thing that I'm trying to get across is if you're having trouble with bosses, first I'd like to say bosses are easier than a lot of the packs you get around here, but some of the bosses, like the Butcher, is quite difficult for some classes. A lot of people hit the Enrage timer. So, as a Barbarian, I'm telling you to put Elective Mode on, take Earthquake, take Wrath of the Berserker, and with the Insanity rune. Now, these two abilities, Wrath of the Berserker and Earthquake, have huge synergy. With this Insanity rune, you do 100% increased weapon damage. So basically, you end up doing 4000% weapon damage with Earthquake. That's a huge amount. 4000% weapon damage, considering your auto attacks do roughly 100% weapon damage. That's 40 attacks additionally over 8 seconds. And this also gives you other good things which can increase your damage further. So you can be doing a huge amount of damage. And if you're feeling crazy, and if you're on a lower difficulty like Nightmare or Normal, take Call of the Ancients as well. It's completely viable on a boss fight, not while clearing dungeons, to take all three of these and for you to drop the boss in seconds. I'm going to see how close I am to the Butcher. Don't really know. Just run around. Okay, I've got some pops. That was an illusionary pack, don't just think I killed hundreds of them. And then I popped my Ignore Pain just as the frozen things were about to explode, because they generally do quite a lot of damage. Dodging out of these big attacks, you really need to be aware of what the guys are doing. These normal attacks are quite fun. Cleave to get rid of the illusionary packs, and it means you end up doing quite a lot of additional damage to the single target with this Rupture rune. Say I blow up 5 targets, I do 5 times 85% weapon damage to the other guy. I'm going to talk about weapons after I kill the Butcher. If he's not too far away, I might just not kill him. Not weapons, I mean like items and that kind of thing. Doesn't seem to be well. Oh. Every single time it seems to go wrong. And just another thing, if you're applying these religiously, these tips I've been giving you to normal mode, can I just say, do what you want in normal mode. Normal mode is so peaceful, you can get away with doing anything, do what you enjoy most. You might start running into troubles in Nightmare mode, and you definitely will in Hell. And a casual player won't be happy in Inferno ever, I don't think. I'm definitely not 100% happy there, and I'm finding it really quite hard. But lot of people will be able to do it, and they'll be fine there. A big patch, not a big patch, a hot fix, we might want to call it, hit the servers recently, and it fixed all the, not the glitches, not the bugs, but the things that people were able to cheese on classes like the Demon Hunter, the Wizard. So they're going to have just as much trouble as we are having in Inferno now. Okay. Oh god, I didn't realise we started so far away. Well, alright, let's talk about items and then people can stick around if they want to see me kill the butcher. I go for strength and vitality, basically. That is what you want to be stacking, big surprise. Other things like crit chance, life steal, life leech are all great. Crit damage is also fine. For your weapons, anything goes. Use what you have best. If you have a 300 DPS two-hand and two 250 DPS one-hands, then go with the 300 DPS two-hand. You should be using the auction house, by the way. If I hadn't been using the auction house, my gear would be... Sorry, I'm hiccuping at the same time. My gear would be a huge amount worse. This is a weapon I picked up off the auction house. It's pretty well itemised, not perfectly, but it was only 4k gold, so it's brilliant. 250 DPS level 51, which is a huge amount of damage. It could be more if I red gemmed it. I actually green gemmed it for increased crit damage. Yeah. Just another tip, you want red gems in your slots, as a barbarian now I'm talking about, you want red gems in your slots, normal to nightmare, and then you can start thinking about green gems in your weapon slots in hell. And this is because plus 40% crit damage scales a whole lot more than plus 20 damage. In nightmare, plus 20 damage on a weapon, sorry, in normal, plus 20 damage on a weapon doubles its DPS, and it's a huge benefit. But at the moment I'm getting more increased damage. You should be looking at this figure here, the damage here. I'm getting more plus damage with the green slot than a red slot at the moment. You want either purple or red gems in all armor slots. Pre-hell, I recommend using a red gem in your helmet just to increase the rate of leveling. And it's completely viable to use a shield. It does substantially increase your survivability against large amounts of mobs. What do I mean? Like a large amount of small mobs, but it doesn't increase your survivability a huge amount against, for example, big elite mobs. Like I said, dual wielding two-hand and shield is all fine and dandy. Dual wielding doesn't increase your damage a huge amount compared to using a shield. It does increase it, increases your attack speed, and if it has the other stats of the other weapon. So yeah, use what gives you the best. Don't worry about sacrificing 50 damage, for example, if it means you get to wear a good shield. This is what I did here. I had another one-hand weapon that had, I think, 240 DPS stats, and my damage by wearing it only went up a very small fraction. Okay, that's what you should know. Okay, I'm going to carry on and go to the butcher and kill him. You're welcome to stay and watch. I'll be using Earthquake and Wrath of the Berserker, so hopefully it'll be fine. I haven't done it yet, but I assume it's going to be fine. So stick around if you want, or if you've got all your information, that's fine. And I'll be making more of these, probably about every class, so please subscribe. I'm going to be doing huge amounts of Diablo videos and going back to LoL videos as well. The summer's coming up for me, although you might call it summer already. I've got a big lot of exams soon, and then I've got an 11-week summer, and I'm going to be pumping out probably like 2 to 3 videos every day. So it should be fun. And I'll be playing around with a new video editing software soon, when I can convince my mother to get me some money. Or find somewhere in the house. Because at the moment, Windows Live is just not working out. Windows Live Movie Maker, that is. I will be dying at some points in this video. It's not because I'm pathetically bad. Basically, people die in hell. You have to be very outgeared the content to die. To not die, I meant. Oh, one more thing, I didn't talk about other viable passives. I just said the ones I have. It's Nerves of Steel is a great passive. It'll increase your survivability by a huge amount. Also, I'd say Relentless is a great passive. And out of these three, Nerves of Steel, Relentless, choose what you feel goes best with your build. Yeah. What I said. The rest are completely viable. Most are completely viable, that is. I wouldn't say they're on the level of the ones I listed. The 3 damage one I listed increased your damage by such a huge amount. I hate knockbacks. Search for the Chamber of Suffering. I've gone the wrong way. I think... I don't know. Earthquake going down, because it's quite a hard pack to kill. Cleaving to get rid of the worms. Come on. Oh, he pulled me in. Have I gone the wrong way? Where does it want me to be going? Normally it gives you the thing where you've got to pick up the dead bodies or something. I haven't gone the wrong way. Also, there you go. That was an example of huge cleave damage. If you start killing one, basically they all die in like 1 hit. I am confused. Normally there's a quest here that allows you to get this door open. Search the Chamber of Suffering. Okay, I think something's gone wrong here, guys. How about I go kill someone else? I could go kill Diablo Nightmare. It's relatively hard. Not impossible in any way. But some, like I said, there's a lot of elitists and there's a lot of casuals here. And the casuals will be finding some content very difficult. And the elitists will be complaining at me for claiming that it's difficult. But it is difficult for some people. Right, let's have a look. Phone is buzzing away. I hope you can't hear that. Pinnacle of Heaven. Okay. Okay. So this is the dab. I'm gonna swap in this. Using Warcry, because he's not going to be attacking me that often, so Revenge wouldn't be giving me a huge amount of benefit. I'm not going to bring the Call of the Ancients, although it is kind of viable too. One other thing, for Diablo at least, if you can survive the first 2 phases, then save your cooldowns, because the 3rd phase is the hard phase, where it starts doing a lot of damage and you want to down him straight away. Just biting away, he's not going to do much to me. Tank that quite happily. I've got lifesteal. Oh, one other thing, I recommend most people grabbing lifesteal on their weapon. Really quite powerful for barbarians because we don't have a huge amount of sustain. Oh, come on. Okay. Bosses with phases are not as easy as the ones that aren't with phases for barbarians. The reason is you can't just blow all your cooldowns instantly and instant kill them. But they're still fine. Don't want to stand in the fire. Just to give you some comparison with the differences in difficulty between Nightmare and Inferno, like how much of a jump it is. I know that fireball just then was doing about 500 damage, and I know in Inferno, in Hell, the fireball does 7k damage, and that's just one difficulty jump up. 7k per second when I only have 20k health, so it's not going to be that easy to kill Diablo in Hell for me. But we'll see how it goes. We've got rid of him now. And I'm not too out-leveling this content. You should be about 50 when you're doing this, and I'm only 52, I think. So I'm not just... This is still a good example of how you should be doing. Okay, let's blow some cooldowns. Wrath of the Berserker, Earthquake on the floor, can happily stand in this fire. And look at his health right now, it is just melting underneath. Earthquake was ticking for 8k a second, I think, and there he's dead.